Hello, I am Michael Girard from Swans, and this is Henry Wheeler's Music Reviews. Enjoy.
Hello peeps, very belated, but let's get to it. Top 50 albums released in the year of 2016. There are going to be quite a few omissions from this list. I want to explain a few of them. Anderson .Paak Malibu, not in there. Sorry, it was very nearly in there, but if there was a 51 best albums of the year list, then it would probably be in there. K-Tornado as well. I thought it was a bit flawed, but it impressed me nonetheless. The Drones album, but again, same case of Anderson .Paak. Also, a few artists I want to mention who had albums released last year that were really good, but just didn't fit in, which include Parquet Courts, Dillinger Escape Plan, Bad Bad Not Good, Chewbacca and the Ancestors, Metallica, to a certain extent, Ariana Grande, to a certain extent, YG, ILYs. I really wish I was able to pick I'm Gonna Have Sex in my top singles of the year, but they didn't release it as a single. What a pity. It would have been in the top 10. Kano, Perturbator, Drive By Truckers, Iggy Pop, Deakin of Animal Collective, The Avalanches, Denzel Curry, Preoccupations, Savages, Skepta. Really enjoyed the album, but just wasn't good enough. Jenny Avol, Sun Kil Moon, and Yesu, or Jesu, or I don't know how you pronounce it. Matt Moss, Beyonce, not included. Sorry. I'm trying to be contrary. Underworld, The OCs, Cult of Luna and Julie Christmas, and finally Ulcerate. Yeah, that's everything. Well, it's not everything, but those are the ones that I felt like I need to mention because they were really good and they didn't feature in the list. So you ready? Cool! At number 50, we have Ulver with a unpronounceable album title. At number 49, we have the Singaporean grindcore outfit Wormrot with Voices. At number 48, we've got the Canadian extraordinaire Venetian Snares with traditional synthesizer music. At number 47, we have the post-metal veterans Neurosis with Fire Within Fires. At number 46, we have Biolojo, the fantastic record by Galician musician Amaro Ferrero. Check it out. At number 45, we have the Finnish psychedelic black metal outfit Oranssi Pazuzu with Varatelia. I think I pronounced it right. Any Finnish people? Tell me how I did. And at 44, Conroy Burst just shows us how much he is becoming Bob Dylan with Ruminations. At number 43, Anony with Hopelessness. Wonderful electronic political pop record. And at number 42, Weezer with their self-titled White Album. Who would have thought they'd come out with another good album since Pinkerton? But they did. Who knew? At number 41, Solange with A Seat at the Table. At number 40, Russian Queen of Quirk, Olga Bell with Tempo. At number 39, Car with Honor Killed the Samurai. At number 38, we have the Belgian outfit Oathbreaker with Rhea. Very rarely do you get to hear a black metal project with a female vocalist. At number 37, we have Riz MC, or Riz Ahmed as most people know him, with Englistan. And number 36, we've got a record which is Grammy nominated. It's got a lot going for it. Sturgill Simpson, A Sailor's Guide to Earth. A wonderful country rock album. Number 35, Angel Olsen with My Woman. Lovely vintage guitar pop. And number 34, we have the Australian psychedelic rock band King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with Nonagon Infinity. And number 33, we have Childish Gambino with Awaken My Love. I had no idea I was getting this kind of album from Childish Gambino. Wasn't really a fan before. I'm now a fan. Number 32, Aesop Rock, The Impossible Kid. Further showing us why he is the rapper with the widest vocabulary in history. And number 31, Clipping with Splendor and Misery. A real surprise. Clipping going conceptual about a slave that takes over a intergalactic slave ship. Very interesting concept. And at number 30, we have the Russian rock veterans Alton with Na Solnitz. Yeah. I'm really shit at pronouncing names, I'm sorry. And number 29, No Name, Telephone. How Chance the Rapper's colouring book should have sounded. And number 28, wonderful swooning Music from Marissa Nadler with Strangers. And number 27, the Dutch hardcore punk group Swain, Go Grunge, with The Long Dark Blue. Good stuff. And number 26, we have the wonderfully quirky Quero Quero Bonito with Bonito Generation. And number 25, Russian songstress Regina Spektor is back with Remember Us to Life. Significant improvement on her previous record, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but this cuts the mustard. At number 24, Kendrick Lamar, Untitled Unmastered. Proof that even the tracks left over on the cutting room floor are worth releasing. At number 23, we have the concept record, Winter's Gate, by the brilliant Finnish melodic death metal outfit Insomnium. Really great concept record. Well, it's not really a... Well, it kind of is a concept record, but it's one song. So, fantastic story of Norse explorers going to visit a island west of Ireland, and it's good stuff. And number 22, Kate Tempest, Let Them Eat Chaos. I don't know why I had any preconceived ideas that this might not be good. I was very surprised. I read some reviews and some of them weren't that good, so I just assumed she's had the second album syndrome, but no, top notch. If you're wondering, are there any good female rappers out there, then look at Kate Tempest, she's wonderful. At number 21, we have the Arizona hip-hop group Injury Reserve with Floss. And at number 20, we have the Finnish pagan metal titans Moonsorrow with Jamalkan Aika. I swear to God, the second track on that thing, that needs to be the new national anthem for Finland. At number 19, people have had it higher up in this list, but for me, there were 18 albums that were better. Frank Ocean, Blonde. Number 18, Vector with Terminal Redux. Sensational thrash metal record here. Check it out now. At number 17, fantastic punk rock record by Jeff Rosenstock with Worry. At number 16, we have Ha Ha He by the Catalan post-punk group AMOON. Huge step forward from their debut album. Much more complex than their debut. I haven't heard anyone talking about it, so make sure that you give these guys a listen if you're a fan of, you know, what Savages are doing at the moment. I personally think that they're kind of on par, if not better than Savages, so yeah. At number 15, Car Seat Headrests, I know, like 13th album, Teens of Denial. Wasn't really knowing what to expect from this. Saw a lot of people talking about it, but I just thought, it's going to fall down over the hype. But he reminds me a lot of Jonathan Richman. It's never a bad thing to be lumped in with Jonathan Richman. Check it out, although you probably have done already. Number 14, the grindcore group Nails. One of the most pulverising records. Probably the most pulverising record I have heard all year. You Will Never Be One of Us. And number 13, the Dutch political rock group De Start with O. An album that's taken their sound a bit further, adding more electronic elements, and it just complements their music really fucking well. And at number 12, Run the Jewels Free by Run the Jewels. They just can't do any wrong. They're on a real roll here. I hope they don't stop here, but I would understand if they did, because, you know, they probably don't want to release a duff record, or even a record that's slightly iffy. But yeah, they're the best hip hop group around at the moment. Traditional hip hop group, like with the two members rapping before anyone goes, "Oh my God, Death Grips are better." Yeah, I know. But at number 11, an album that really floored me, Mitski with Puberty 2. A wonderful showing, different styles complementing each other really well. It's just a really good 90s rock revival album. There's a few different kind of styles in there. There's a bit of grunge, there's a bit of alternative rock, there's some indie. It's good stuff. And talking about all manner of issues such as cultural and racial identity, womanhood and sex. It's really great. Finally, we're on to the top 10. And at number 10, we have Nihage, the self-titled record by Nihage. I found out about these guys through Rate Your Music. They're a Polish jazz fusion group that are well worth your time. You need to listen to this record because it is extraordinary. At number 9, Touche Amore, Stage 4. A tough listen about the singer Jeremy's parent going through cancer, looking back on them after they've passed. It's very rewarding. There's a lot of fantastic songs in it. The opening track in particular is just wow. There are a lot of albums in this top 10, more than half of it, which kind of deal with loss of some sort or death. This is one of them. Sorry to bring your mood down. At number 8, you may lynch me for this, for putting it so low. Other people probably put it higher than me, but for me, there were albums that were better. Death Grips, Bottomless Pit. I love this album. I think it's, along with The Money Store, the most immediate record in Death Grips' career. There are so many catchy tracks. There are always catchy tracks with Death Grips, but legitimately catchy. Like, they could be played on the radio, such as Air Crash as well. It's just a nice amalgamation of essentially everything that Death Grips has been doing up until this point, with the kind of the more accessible stuff, the really dark, depraving stuff, the really abstract stuff, and the kind of the punk / kind of rock influenced stuff with the Powers That Be, released in 2015. Yeah, there's some noticeable differences. They talk about more subject matter in this particular album, which is kind of refreshing, but I can't complain because I absolutely love Stephen Burnett's lyricism. I'm happy either way. At number 7, again, along the lines of the death theme, we have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds with Skeleton Tree. Oh god, how Nick Cave had the will to write this album. It floors me because I don't know if I could. I'd probably be living in solitary for the rest of my life if I lived to see my child die. Here we have some fantastic instrumentation that kind of has a slight electronic vibe to it. Absolutely floored me. At number 6, another album that people would have higher, but there were 1 or 2 tracks that kind of prevented it from being higher in the list. Notably Get High. I'm talking about Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition. This was one of the most absolute off-the-wall, insane albums I've ever heard in my life. And I've listened to quite a lot of stuff, so that's really saying something. You know, this gives Captain Beefheart a run for his money. The fact that Danny Brown, this is a testament to just how wonderful an MC Danny Brown is. The fact that he can rap over, it seems, any beat and still sound so smooth atop of it. Well, maybe not smooth, but it's kind of like he's running and he's along a road that's full of potholes, and he's constantly, you know, avoiding tripping up just very, very slightly. There are just some real gems in it, like Ain't It Funny, which is one of... I've never heard a track before in my life that sounded like I would imagine it feels to have a really bad trip. Very, very intense. So number 5, an album that's not necessarily about death, but given the fact that Leonard Cohen died immediately after it was released, talking about how after his muse died that he felt that he was ready to die. And to be honest, if you're in your 80s, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be ready to die. What a fantastic closing chapter to his musical history. At number 4, Swans with The Glowing Man. To Be Kind, the previous Swans album, was my favourite record of 2014. While I don't think this is a better record, I think it's... in fact, the 3 previous records they've released have been all very similar. They've all been 2 hours long, and they've all felt like a complete piece. And you could look at it as some sort of trilogy in a way. I kind of feel like this album, The Glowing Man, is it's far more ethereal. There's a lot of soundscapes in it. But yeah, what Michael Girard and co have done over the past few years is a simply astonishing musical reinvention that I don't think anyone was expecting, and I don't think will ever be topped. I seriously doubt that there will be any band reunions that will have as glorified a discography during their return as Swans, because some of this music is among the best ever made in popular music. So now we're into the top 3. At number 3, my most viewed video on YouTube, A Moon-Shaped Pool. Anyone who's seen my review will know that I absolutely adore this album. If you don't, then check out my review. I'll put a link down in the description box if you've yet to watch it. So I'm not going to say much about it because I've already said enough. But I will add this. I think that since Tom's ex-wife Rachel died of cancer, I think it gives a slightly new meaning to the album, because particularly in tracks like Daydreaming and True Love Waits, because it could be meaning literally don't leave, but it could be talking figuratively as well, like don't die, because it could be that he's looking for he's looking to still be with her, at least in a friendship capacity perhaps, and this illness is getting in the way. And I think that there's quite possibly a link between her death and the record. I mean, I don't see how there can't be. I mean, that must be a real sucker punch, getting divorced and your ex-wife dying. I don't want to dwell on that anymore, because I've spoken a lot about this album. I think it's one of the best in Radiohead's discography. Moving on, at number 2, this is a record that I feel was severely underappreciated. It doesn't get anywhere near the credit that it deserves. We have Tribe Called Quest. We got it from here. Thank you for your service. This was just a really, really great conscious hip-hop record. There isn't many being released nowadays. Kendrick and, to a certain extent, Run the Jewels are really the only big artists doing it. So to hear Tribe Called Quest come back with a record like this, and with a record this good, I didn't expect this record to be any good at all. I saw they were coming back, and that after Five Dog died from complications with diabetes, and that they were using verses that he had recorded prior to this, it felt a bit too Tupac for me. You know, I felt like they were cashing in on his death, and it was going to be a very, very sordid affair. But this is up there with their first 3 records. It's this is the hip-hop album of the year. And I didn't think that I'd say this about a group of rappers who are approaching 50. It's astonishing. You really pulled that out of the bag, lads. Busta Rhymes was excellent on this album. Give credit to him. Such a pity that Trump's in office, but oh well. People are stupid. Our people are stupid too, so let's hug it out. Hug it out, my American brothers and sisters. Let's get through this together. So, number 1. What else could it be other than one of the best records of this century so far? Black Star by David Bowie. Now, I first listened to this, like everyone else, before he died. And then the news broke out, and I couldn't really believe it. You know, it just sounded a bit too surreal to be true. Last year saw the loss of so many great artists. David Bowie, in particular, Five Dog, Leonard Cohen, Prince, George Michael. It was a shit year last year for many reasons. But this year, despite what you may say, it hasn't been as bad, I don't think. This album encompasses the theme of death and Bowie's assumed demise that was waiting to approach. This was a very difficult record to listen to. After knowing what had happened, it made the title track, it made I Can't Give It All Away, Dollar Days, and the track Lazarus, which was my favourite track of the year. It all gave them a new meaning, and like perhaps he wasn't intending to die immediately. I don't think he was thinking that he was going to die immediately, but he was writing this knowing that at some point he was going to die, and it was just a simple waiting game. And he was working on new music. We heard some of the tracks that were left over from it, with like the No Plan EP that was released this year. It's a real loss to music. You know, there are loads of artists that everyone goes on about and says, oh, they're the best of all time, like the Beatles or Pink Floyd or anyone of that ilk. But David Bowie was an undisputed genius. The legacy he's left behind is unparalleled, and I don't think anyone will ever top it, quite frankly. I'd be hugely surprised and impressed if someone does, but I don't know if it's possible. Death Grips could do it, maybe. Other than that, no. That was my list of top 50 albums of 2016. I will be doing a top 50 albums and singles and EPs of 2017 at the end of the year, not at the tail end of April like I'm doing now. So I'm going to get into a groove where I'm doing things more frequently, and yeah, we'll just see what happens.